You're listening to the Totally Indian Football Show by Humans of Indian Football.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Totally Indian Football Show. I'm your host Suju, and today we have two of our set panelists not part of the show, but we still have a guest who have joined us. We're not a new person, probably a new face and a new voice, I would say, rather on this show, but definitely not new for Indian football fans on Twitter. Shlok, welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
How was the course? Just to tell our listeners, he was busy undergoing a D license. I think the
Oh,
first
yeah.
ever coaching license that started post the lockdown and pandemic situation that we've been through. It was held in Bombay, the Cooperage, the same old
Yeah.
Cooperage Stadium. How was it, Slok?
Beautiful. It was so fun. 6 days you just sit and the whole day you have a ball at your feet. You're doing what you love. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure. Today we're definitely going to look at one of why the reason why Shlok is also here is because we are talking about his favorite club in ISL. That's Mumbai City FC. But before that,
Yeah.
let me join our old voices that are there on the show. Hey Sandeep, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Going on. Can complain, but I won't.
Great. Hey Ajay, welcome to the show.
Hey Suju, hi.
Sandeep, we have some news from BFC camp. Dimas has left.
Yeah, so Dimas has left. It's a personal issue. I checked with the team, but at the moment they are not willing to disclose what it is, and that's absolutely fine because it's a private matter. So he is gone. I think he left on Sunday. The interesting thing is who's going to come in to play for him. They have already roped in Chisco Hernandez, who's coming back to the club. Was not a very successful signing in the first time around, but had a good time in Odisha. So he's coming back. He reached. So today is what Tuesday. So he reached he reached the hotel on Monday night, I think, or Monday anyway. So he has to do a 14-day quarantine and things like that. So he's not going to be immediately available. And after that, you have to see how fit he is and all those kind of things as well. They have lost Deshaun Brown as well, who's gone on to Northeast United SC and scored on his debut. I did ask them if they are going to sign any more foreigners. At the moment, they said no. But and it's unless it's from within the ISL, the bubble, it doesn't make sense to sign a foreigner at this moment in time. So tough times ahead for BFC, but you will get to see a few more younger players play. I think so. That's good, setting up the base for the next season.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably they start rebuilding from here on, right? Rather than waiting for the entire season to go ahead. So, anyway, we had some great I League matches and ISL matches as well. I think we'll come to it in a bit. Let's start the topic that's there for today, Mumbai City FC. And just like Sandeep mentioned, we're recording this on a Tuesday. This episode will be out on a Friday. And I think it's a good day for us to speak about Mumbai City because Mumbai City will play on a Friday against East Bengal. And Shlok, let me start with you. Now, they are currently the table toppers, right?
Yeah.
And though initially they had some kind of niggle, but they slowly picked up the pace, just as expected from them because they have such a star cast. Your initial thoughts on this Lobera side of Mumbai City FC?
Initial thoughts. So yeah, before the season started, I mean, I didn't expect us to be 5 points clear at the top, obviously, because you have your 80k MB and whatnot. So I was thinking, let's try making top three, top two, and that would be good. But now, seeing how the team has, gelled, we haven't really had any big injury issues so far. I think, yeah, we can go all the way. Probably shield. Yeah, I guess we can get the shield.
Sandeep, now Mumbai City has been in a similar situation. When I say similar situation, especially to do with on the pitch, they've had a star cast in the previous editions, where they had the likes of Diego Forlan, Sunil Shetty, and Sunil Norde, and everybody's eyes were on them, right? Forlan even got a hat trick and some crazy matches that they had. They did finish top of the table, but definitely because of the nature of ISL, because of the playoff, they could not, win the become champions. So do you see them going a step further than that this time around?
So first of all, I would say for me personally, there is not much parallel here because that time ISL was sort of a tournament and they would get together for 2-3 months and then play and then leave. Unlike now where it's like a longer thing and players are training almost year round to be with the same team with the same coaching staff and things like that. So That I wouldn't draw too much parallel with that, but yeah, there is always a chance that Mumbai can top the table like Goa did last year, and BFC did a couple of years ago, and not go on to win the title. But it seems like I've always thought because of Lobera, I always thought Mumbai or Lobera teams as such or would always struggle against a defensively, well set team. But this year we've seen it doesn't really matter to them because they've managed to beat the teams that you would sort of expect Mumbai to struggle against, right? Whether it's ATK, Mohun Bagan, or Bangalore FC, although Bangalore FC's level has gone down drastically. But what I would also say is he has found an absolute, there is some sort of balance in the team with Hernan Santana who's actually I think a midfielder playing as a defender, and they have conceded very little goals, which is saying something because Lovera team always used to concede. That was one of the things that he used to say. So with that attack and with defense and players of not just Jahu, even Santana can really hit the ball long and hit the ball very well long as well. So I think they're just going to walk the league, and then because it's two leg tie, I would still put them favorite. If it was a one game semi-final, I would say maybe anything can happen. But over 180 minutes, generally the better team wins.
Ajay, now you've also been following Mumbai City very closely since the start. How big a boost is the investment from the City Football Group?
I think it's made a massive difference. Obviously, with that kind of investment coming in, it's beneficial for the league, and I think with Lobera coming in, they've made a smart choice because here is a coach who's got experience in India before, and who's got full control over the transfer market. So the signings that Mumbai City made were essentially, the core of the FC Goa team. Again, players who played in India, who played under Lobera. So that makes a huge difference to have a settled team. I think even in terms of depth, they have a crazy amount of depth with the likes of Farooq Chaudhary, Vikram Pratap Singh, all yet to actually get minutes in the team. So yeah, I think definitely had the investment not come in, we would have looked at a different Mumbai City FC. But it is what it is.
Shlok, what are your, early chances? Now, as I said, we said that initially they took some time to gel well because considering also the fact that it was the shortest preseason that they had. But now
Yeah.
that they are gelling well and we can see the result, they are on the top of the table for a very right reasons for, giving us those results. Can they continue considering we are almost nearing the end of this edition?
Yeah, I mean, see, I feel like, maybe the Hyderabad result has affected this conversation a bit in the sense that is Mumbai City losing steam or, are the results going to plateau a bit? I feel that it's not that way because, again, what we're looking at from this side is improvement from what Goa was under Lobera, right? He's sorted out his defensive organization. Earlier, there used to be so many gaps when he was with Goa. Now you see like a more compact form. You see your wingers going back, and it's drilled in the system. Is what I'm trying to say. It's not that it's a good run of 10 games and then the next 10 games are going to be shaky. This is the ethos of the squad. This is the way we play. And I see that there is going to be a consistency going ahead as well. I mean, against Hyderabad, there was no Bomu. He's going to be back against EB, right? And hopefully he's going to be there ahead. So really what we're talking about is it's a great squad with a lot of good individuals. The system's right, so I don't see any reason for the form to taper off.
Sandeep, just like Shlok mentioned now, Lobera kind of also had a time to rectify his mistakes that happened with FC Goa and in defensive. Even you mentioned that, the defensive errors that happened in Goa was also cut down with Mumbai. So how well has he done that? And how do you see it going ahead?
Like I said, they have a very good balance in the way that a lot of the time they defend by keeping possession. So they hold the ball a lot, they move it around a lot, so the other team doesn't really get the chance to, attack them consistently. They give it away, but they get it back quickly and then just move it around. And at the same time, they have such good ball handlers at the back, except for Murtada Fall. The others, the centre back Hernan Santana is very good on the ball. Jahu, who often drops deep into the defensive side, and then Santana goes to the left. So they both are very good. Their wing backs, like Mandar is a winger actually. Vignesh is also actually a winger, so they're playing out of position, but it works for Lobera. Then you have Rowland, who's I don't know why that guy is not rated more higher than in Indian football, but anyway, he's excellent. He's very good defensively. He's a tall guy. He gets about the pitch very well. Very lanky, very difficult to defend against him. And he arrives at the other box, the attacking box, also at the right time. He has got that ability to score. It's just that he doesn't go forward as much. I think sometimes.
Yeah.
And then Rainer also, and I have to give credit to Slope, okay, because when he came on injury time, to the last one, and this was before the ATK game, and Jahu was injured, and he called then that Rainier will be the best place to sit in the middle, and I'll let him explain the details of why he decided that would be better, and that's exactly what Lovera ended up doing. So in that sense, they have everything going for them. That team has a very good balance, very difficult team to beat, I feel. So it just like when you have a Rowling and a Rainier who can do both attacks and defending, right? It's such a rarity in Indian football to have players who are quite comfortable doing both roles. So that works well for him. And this is across the board. Quite a few of them. Even Mandar has improved as a left back.
So Shlok, let me come to you. As Sandeep mentioned, why don't you explain that whole point?
When we're looking at Jahu, we're looking at someone who likes to have his time on the ball. And so in order to get that time on the ball, there's two options. Either he goes deeper into the defensive line to play those long balls, or else, hope that the opposition isn't going to press as hard. With Rainier, he can control, he's very mobile, right? If he's receiving the ball with a defender on his back, simply turn and play it. He's got the technical ability to do that. Jahu, many times we see him this season, when there's a high press, he just gets rattled, loses the ball, and it could be a dangerous situation. So in that sense, I felt that Rainier alongside with Rowland would be great because one, you're beating the press. Second, you still have a player who can pass the ball well enough. And third, I mean, he is a creative presence. Like he has that ability to just dribble and create from somewhere, and then you can have Sai on the wings as well. So as a whole, I felt that was what Lopera would go for instead of putting Hernan in the midfield and compromising the defense.
So can I ask something? Do you feel Jahu is maybe slightly overrated now?
Well, the thing about him is he's like one of those players, like you see him get sent off or you see him sit out for a game, then this conversation comes up, is he overrated? But then he comes on the pitch and then he plays the long balls and everyone's like, oh, deep lying playmaker, oh, great passer. He has had like a decline in form. Like obviously he's not the same player he was 2-3 years ago. But he's still like a very important part of the squad. I don't see Rainier replacing him as like a full-time midfielder. Rainier's better on the wings in that sense.
Shlok, I'll remain with you. One more question that I want to ask you is now the reason why we call Mumbai City as a star cast is also for the big names that comes in the foreign signings, who also we've seen in the past seasons in ISL. We've seen them flourish with their respective teams, whether it be Bart, whether it be others who came from the FC Goa camp. We know them. We've seen them. But if I have to ask you, the depth also comes in of how good is your Indian squad. And Mumbai City has rightly, I mean, you have mentioned, Sandeep has mentioned that there's a balance at the moment. And the Indian players has also improved who've come from Goa. So could you just take us through the Indian squad that have really, impressed us and, that we can expect and put our eyes on them going ahead?
Okay. First of all, there's two players that come to mind when you look at Indian performers in Mumbai City FC. Amrinder Singh and Bipin Singh. Amrinder, both of them just insane form at the moment, and all credit goes to Lobera and his coaching staff who have given them this ability to perform so well. There's Rowland, Mr. Consistent. He's going to give you a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 performance every game. Rainier's been there. He has struggled with injuries a bit, but still a very reliable player. On your flanks, you've got Mandar, very comfortable with the system. He does the job well. Right back, Amir nowadays is coming up. I've been fairly impressed with what he's done in the BFC game. Hyderabad game also, he managed decently. Rakip is there. I don't know why he's starting a little less, but when we first signed him, I was over the moon about him. And sometimes if you watch the games where we need an attacking presence on the right, the way he combines with Sai Goddard is just phenomenal. And then there's also the younger players. You've got Vikram Pratap Singh. Obviously, he's getting minutes now. So yeah, in that sense, as much as the foreigners are contributing, it's also the Indians stepping up and providing that extra consistency or extra bit of magic you need sometimes.
Ajay, I'm going to come to you now. A difficult question for you, probably. If you, why is, do you feel somewhere down the line is Gurpreet kind of overrated? As in, in somewhere, I mean, come on. Amrinder was the keeper who was, we were looking forward to, but then when Gurpreet came back, then all eyes were on him, and rightly so. But if I had to put you in a fix and ask you, who would you pick among from these two, and also considering this particular season, what would you have to say?
So, firstly, I don't think so. Gurpreet is overrated at all. I think he's a fabulous keeper. And every keeper goes through, a good patch, a bad patch. But considering the form this season, on purely form basis, I think Amrinder deserves to be starting for India whenever India plays. I mean, more than who's going to be the starting keeper, the bigger question is when are we going to have an international match? But if I were Igor's team match, on basis of current form, I would definitely pick Amrinder over Gurpreet.
Well, I think if you were Igor Stimac, the first question you would have asked is where are you? Where have you been all this while? And if so, anyway, let's move on. Ajay, again, sticking with you, how do you see? I mean, what has changed over the period? Just like I've mentioned that you've also been following Mumbai, and we've also seen the Lobera style of football. So, what has drastically changed this season for Mumbai City FC?
I think just to consolidate all the points that have been put across so far. So you see, Mumbai have an experienced coach. They have players with experience in this division in this country. They have strength in depth, which is essential considering that this is a very different kind of season given the pandemic and all the events. But yeah, I think the most significant part here is the investment from City Football Group. I think they got it spot on with Mumbai City FC. So major credit to that. You have seen investment in this particular league, in franchises, in clubs. I don't accept the banter from other fans when they say that this is oil money. Firstly, if you have a team playing in the ISL, you need to have money. It's not like a community club has risen through the ranks and divisions and are playing. You have major corporate houses, major companies who are funding this particular league. So just going a bit off track there, but I think credit goes down to whoever is in charge of the transfer strategy and the recruitment of players and coaches. I think that's a brilliant job behind the scenes at Mumbai City FC. Just a shame that they aren't playing at the Mumbai Football Arena. It would have been brilliant because
Yeah.
whenever a team is on a roll, they're winning games, the fans get behind them, and it would have been brilliant to see the West Coast Brigade and more fans pouring into the stadium to watch this rendition of Sergio Lovera's Mumbai City play at the Andheri Sports Complex.
Yeah, Sandeep, last time when we were talking about Bengaluru FC, we mentioned how probably they kind of fell short on the recruitment part. Now, when we look at Mumbai City FC, we feel they've done all things, they've got things right. How important is, the financial boost that comes into the picture for recruiting the right kind of players that you want?
Money is going to help only because as the years went by in Lobera's time in Goa, they were also spending more money just to retain the players that he wanted to play the style he wanted. So now, if you look at it, uh, Mumbai with such an investment, he came and bought a lot of players that he already knew. On top of that, he seems to have this blueprint of sorts. Like there is an Indian winger, it is Jackie, it's Bipin Singh now. There is a Lanzarote player who is now Sai Godad. Although I think Lanzarote's rendition of that position was probably better than what Sai Godad is doing right now. There is Jahu. There is a Bumu. I mean, there Jahu and Bumu itself. Mandar he got, but at the same time he has Vignesh, winger turned left back. So they have all these things in the like he has a set pattern, and Mumbai was a team who was going to provide him with the right people that he wanted to play his style of football, and that includes the strikers also. Previously, we spoke about Koro being excellent. Now, if you look at it, they have two, Lafondre and Miche. And what a Like imagine you being a team, you played against Lefondre, who's not really all that directly involved in helping the team set up really good moves. He's more of a finisher. And then he's been running around and you've been marking him all this time. And then the last 20 minutes, Ogbeche comes on, who's more of a target man, who's a bigger aerial presence. He's more, sturdy. He's going to push you around. He's going to physically dominate you. What a change to bring on, right? So it's like that team generally in ISL, the team who spends most money is probably going to be up there. And this year it's Mumbai City, and fair play to them because they spend the money and they spend it the right way, which I think is most important to be a successful team.
Yeah, slow coming to you again. Now we've seen a Lobera style of football at FC Goa, and we were used to seeing that, right? And now that we're talking about there's balance here, he had more money to rectify the mistakes, so he's gotten a great team. But when you have such a huge team at your disposal, it's so difficult for a coach to pick your playing 11, right? Just like Sandeep mentioned, you have players like Adam Lefondre, but he's not fully involved throughout the game or does help you, but and then he brings in a Bart, or it's the other way around. So you've now getting into the coaching and you also coaching. So if you had to tactically analyze as a fellow coach, how would you take us through probably what Lobera goes through when he's picking his 11?
Okay, so from his point of view, what I would look at is how are we mainly going to attack and create against the opposition. If I know it's going to be a more open-ended game, if I know I'm playing against a team that leaves a bit of space in their defensive lines, I would probably go for Lefondre because I know that the creation part is sorted. I just need a person who can move well in the box. If I know I'm playing against a more physical team, I would go for Bart, as we did against ATKMB. I feel that in that case, Lefondre would be stifled and he wouldn't get the service that he could. Bart is someone who can score from set pieces. He's great at free kicks and long distance shots. So he's like, you give him half a chance, he can probably score. And he did. Then the other matter, obviously, the main one I think is fitness. That substitution that we saw in the game against ATKMB summed it up all. Bart had a good game, he scored, but 75th minute, he had to go off. Lefondre had to come in just so that I can keep my players fit. Next game, I don't go in with any injuries. If I need to make a tactical sub, I have the resources for that. Um, but it's also about like the egos that are in the squad. You have two big players. Bart is someone who can start for like so many ISL teams, so he wouldn't be very happy sitting all the time either. So again, it's like so many things that just go into it. Egos, fitness, tactical point of view, form as well. Bart's playing well at this point, so maybe he could get a nod over Lefondre. So it's just so many things to consider.
True. Ajay, I'll come to you now. How do you see Mumbai City continuing with this form? They have all the right ammunition for doing so, and they are probably clear 5 points ahead. And just like Shlok mentioned at the start, though the Hyderabad match that they had, it kind of has put us into a situation where can they or will they and all of that. But how do you see going ahead in the season, the remainder of the season? Can Mumbai City FC continue this form?
Yeah, I think what Hyderabad showed everyone in the ISL was that Mumbai can be contained. There is a way to get around Mumbai. Although they lost the first game against Northeast, it was still a brand new squad with a brand new coach and a system settling in. But credit to Hyderabad, who've been one of the better teams, a surprise package this year, and they've essentially shown that Mumbai does have a chink in its armor, although it's not a very large kind of a chink. Having said that, though, I think Mumbai are favorites to get the ISL Shield at least, and I think that was probably the target for them right at the off because that means Champions League qualification, and along with Champions League qualification comes everything. There's money, there's prestige, and stuff like that. So I think Lobera would deliver the ISL Shield, but in the playoffs, anything can happen. And although Sandeep did mention it that over two legs in the semi-final, you could probably see Mumbai qualifying for the final. But in the final, well, it's anyone's game from there. But more than anything else, if you had told Lobera, when the season began, that they would be qualifying for the Champions League, he would have taken it right there and then.
Well, Sandeep, now to look at the fixtures that are there, Mumbai City that has, if I had to like look at now, this episode you're listening to is on a Friday, and on Friday night we play East Bengal, Mumbai City FC play. So, continuing with the schedule, if you look at, then they play Chennai, then they play Northeast, and then they play KBFC. I mean, we till these are the four fixtures that we have at the moment. Uh, and it looks like, apart from East Bengal, we yet don't know how East Bengal probably shows up on a particular match day. They had another goalless, they had a draw with 10 men against Chennai. And Chennai also has been going down because they've lost a key player due to injury, and they've had a run of not very good matches. So, how do you see this going? Do you see it as a cakewalk? Because the reason why I'm saying that is, apart from the East Bengal match, if you see it's Chennai. Now, Northeast again is a tricky team. After Gerard Noose being sacked, they came ahead. They won 2-1, and then they have Kerala Blasters. So, how do you see it going ahead? Is it a easy fixtures coming up for Mumbai City that they can still remain at the top?
I mean, I'm not going to say easy to any of them, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Northeast game is probably going to be the hardest for Mumbai, just because the way the team is set up and how defensively sound that, especially with Khalid Jamil also coming in. East Bengal, look, the most entertaining thing about East Bengal is Robbie Fowler and what he says after the match only.
It's not
So
even Bright, it's just Robbie Fowler.
yeah, I mean, Bright. It's, I mean, I don't see anybody, to be honest, who's going to make a dent on Mumbai City because even if they take the foot off the pedal and sort of ease them through the second half, like we've seen BFC do it before, they can still do it and probably still end up first only, like finishing on the top and winning the Shield. Now, I don't know how important it is for the club to win in the Shield because the more I think about it, the Champions League, it's like this. It's like this carrot dangling. Everybody wants to play the Champions League, but almost 100% you're going to be knocked out in the group stage. And if you are in the AFC Cup, you have a very good chance of progressing to the later rounds and maybe earn more money in that sense. Like once you keep going up,
Mm.
you keep making more money. So I don't know what is right. Like different clubs have different interests, right? Who do you want to go far in Asia, or do you just want to play the highest level of competition in Asia? So, but I think if there are only three teams in India are good enough to actually play that level, which is Mohun Bagan, Mumbai, and FC Goa to an extent. If and when they click into gear, because they have the players, and even they don't look good enough to qualify from the round also. But I don't know. I went on a tangent. But anyway, I don't see any of these teams causing any problems for Mumbai and I think they'll rotate also now. I would like to see Vikram Pratap Singh get a start and see how he plays the full game, not when the game is sort of stretched and towards the end.
Mhm.
So that would be something that I'll be looking to in case Lobera decides to shift things around. And hope he plays as a centre forward, not like on the wing.
Yeah, interesting times ahead, definitely. Shlok, even in the last podcast, Arko had mentioned that he's looking forward to, when we were looking at matches to upcoming matches to look forward to. He mentioned, though we had picked East Bengal and Kerala Blasters, he also mentioned that Hyderabad Mumbai City look an interesting fixture, and it's, I think all of us are looking forward to it because the way Hyderabad has impressed us this season. Now that we've seen the game, and as expected, that's how Hyderabad showed up. And do you see, they have given us a glimpse, even Ajay I think mentioned that they have given us a glimpse of probably Mumbai City can have a fall here and there. So what do you, according to you, are the mistakes probably that Mumbai City committed that they are now revealed to the other clubs, probably that they could take note of?
Okay. Okay. There was a certain bluntness when we were playing. You know, it's when you're playing possession football against a very well organized defensive side, you want players that continuously move, that continuously pass and move. I feel that what we lacked on that day was majorly movement at the right point of time. The second thing is the feeling of being locked out of the opposition's block. Um, Too many players behind the first line of defense. Sometimes, like Sai would come deep, it was ineffective. So, that central penetration that we don't have without Bumu, that is something teams can capitalize on. The other thing is I feel when you're facing off against Mumbai, you as a team, you should be defending as a whole. Have your striker come back, mark out Jahu, mark out the midfield options. That's very effective. And Mumbai again, we're one of those teams which we will give you a chance. Like you will have like at least two shots on goal, out of which one could have gone in. There's a different story that there's Amrinder in goal, but you can still score. So it's not as much about getting chances to score, but it's more about defending and keeping Mumbai out. If you get the responsibilities right, if your players are doing well, it's possible.
But it's very difficult to replicate what Hyderabad did for other teams also, I feel, because
Yeah,
they are a
because I
very,
mean,
very well drilled team, right? When you look at it,
yeah.
the right players and the right system is what they're doing right now. Because Chinglang Sena looks like a world beater sometimes. So that's
Yeah,
how good that system is.
that
So how,
Ashish Rai, insane
yeah,
game he had against Bipin Singh, and I would still argue that Mumbai didn't get a rightful penalty. So yeah, a bit of luck, good form, and a good system. I think that's what it takes for a team like Hyderabad to get a draw.
Yeah, I think
that
the way
sounded like an
Hyderabad.
insult at the end for a team like
No, I
Hyderabad.
mean, I'm sorry, but it's just like they're not Goa, they're not
Probably the
ATK
bit
MB.
of
So
luck can be point number three, because I think that goes for all the clubs on that given day, on a
yeah.
given match day.
Siju, the boys spoke about Vikram Pratap, and there is that slight mean streak to him, right? I mean, as a coach,
Yeah,
you love that, and your player is like on fire, and he wants to do something,
yeah.
and as a coach, I would take it in a very positive way. So, him and even Farooq, we've barely seen Farooq Chaudhary as well. Even he's got a lot of potential. So, hoping to see all these youngsters getting some minutes.
Just about Vikram Pratap though, Sandeep mentioned that he wants him to start. Vikram Pratap, I really like him as a player, but I just feel that sometimes he's very naive when he's defending. He's going to go charge and press his man. When you're starting a player, you expect them to play at least 60, 70 minutes. So if that's his first course of action, charging head forward at a defender may not be that wise because you're compromising your organization. Your press can go haywire. And the second thing is he's losing stamina every time he does that. So maybe at another point of time when he's supposed to, bust a gut and run for the ball, he may be panting because earlier on, 20 minutes ago, he charged at a defender and he got turned easily.
Do you think
Stuff
that's
like
because he is brought on late and he has to just run around and do
yeah,
everything?
that could also be a case. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like cause consequence. I don't know which one's which.
Yeah, so I think probably it'll be an interesting one to see if he's put in
Yeah,
at the start and see how he performs, right? And just like I think Sandeep mentioned, one point which I would like to echo again, is that probably now that they have settled in well and going ahead, they do have some good series of matches. Probably we will get to see more of the Indian squad coming in, and the rotations that Sandeep mentioned about. So I think it'll be interesting to see how Lobera uses these guys, because in the past also we've seen Lobera giving those go-in players a chance, right? We've seen in the past where there were like 6 to 9 go-ins at the end of full time at FC Goa. So probably we'll see some more young Indians over here as well. I think I'm going to close this topic of Mumbai City FC by asking all three of you a same question. I'll start with Shlok. Shlok, do you see in the coming seasons, right? Not this. Let's just consider this as over, and then in the upcoming. How long do you see this team staying like this? And what do you see going ahead? I mean, in the
in terms
coming.
of personnel.
Yeah. Do you still
Okay.
see Sergio being there? Do you see how long can this star cast last?
Okay, so basic facts: the foreigners are almost all foreigners are on like a 2-year contract. Indians are on upwards of 3. So I feel that even before Sergio came in, the club had a plan of having decent Indians, polishing them, and having like a core of good Indian players. You can see that with Rahul and Borges. There was Subhasish Bose, there's Amrinder. So the Indians are here to stay. I feel like these guys can go on till 2024, 2025, even given the length of their contract. This batch of Goan players, they will go as Sergio goes, I think, in the next 2 years or so. I don't think Jahu will stay beyond 2 years. Hugo will probably go abroad. Sergio is on a 2+1 contract. Maybe he'll have a year where he has to deal with new foreigners. So let's see about that. Sai Godard, Hernan Santana might be gone after this year because they're on loans. So yeah, speaking about this squad in particular, 2 years. But the Indians will stay for, I would say, 4 to 5 years. Yeah.
Sandeep?
Um, it's a difficult question to answer, right? Because what I would like to see is Lovera taking them to the Champions League and staying there for the season where they actually play the Champions League, which he did not get to do with Goa. Just to see what his level of coaching and this style of play with this kind of personnel can do at the highest level in Asia. But yeah, I do think a lot of the Bumu and Lafondre and Ogbeche are probably three players who I look at and think, okay, they will go. Sai Godard also on loan, so
I forgot about those.
so these players are probably going to leave, so they will have to find replacement. And anyway, Ogbeche is getting older as well, so it's although he's still good enough. I don't know how old he is, but
36. Yeah.
that's officially, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. In Indian football, as a rule of thumb, we put plus 0 to 3.
Yeah.
So yeah, but again, since he's from Paris, maybe he's different. Yeah, they'll just move. I think they'll just probably after next season they will have to do a small rebuild, not too big, but a small rebuild.
Ajay, your thoughts on this?
I think the boys have already answered it. I think going in last, this is the this is the travesty because yeah, I just echo what both of them have said. But hopefully we get to see this squad playing together in Champions League. That would be the most interesting thing. And over and above, I hope we get to see all these youngsters also reaching somewhat to the potential and hype that they have around them right now.
Okay, then. So that brings us probably to the end of the discussion for this topic. That's Mumbai City FC, and we'll have to wait and watch how this entire season pans out for them. And probably going ahead, how do we see? Do we still see this team intact? And if we can see them in Champions League, nothing like it. Now let's come down to the usual discussion that we have about the ISL and the I League matches, right? Sandeep, I'll start with you. A match that went by from the ones that are over, the one that probably caught your attention or you want to speak about. If it is Mumbai Hyderabad, I think you can move on from that.
And I was just thinking about which is the game that you can take up and talk about, but nothing really stood out. So maybe I'll go with the ATK Mohun Bagan and Goa, because I think there is something happening in Goa in terms of the fact that they've signed Dheeraj. Nawaz has not played the last couple of games, so his contract is out at the end of the season. So are they going to move him on now? Is that a question? And is that why they signed Dheeraj? And if so, is Dheeraj the kind of player that they need? Because he's not very good with his feet, as far as I remember. But or does are they moving away from the Lovera thing of, okay, the keeper has to pass and move and things like that, and have a start stopper who's taller? Because of the whole point against Dheeraj against Nawaz is that he's short. And that's not really his fault, but that's something that's always come to bite him again and again. Same thing with Ralte as well, who was in BFC and FC Goa also before. He's probably the best goalkeeper with the feet. That's an undisputed claim from everybody who has seen them train. So in addition, Goa is also not starting Angulo anymore. Now that is also sort of interesting because you can only have 5 foreigners, so they need the 2 centre backs, and so they have to drop one striker. So Jorge Ortiz seems to be giving them like a penetration with the ball, like he runs with the ball. He is involved in the game a lot more than say someone like Angulo, who's sort of invisible until you just suddenly see him pop up for the goal. So is the coach? So maybe we don't. There's something we don't know. Maybe he's unwell or maybe he's got a niggling injury. But I didn't hear anything about an injury as such. So is the coach now going in this direction where he wants to play the style of football that he wants to play? Angulo cannot be a part of that lineup. Is that something that we are going to see? Because if he is the top scorer and he is the best striker in your team, you would have played him against a team like ATK Mohun Bagan, because even the half chances, Ortiz is not as clinical as Angulo. So even half chances, probably you would say that Angulo would have finished it. But Ortiz gives him a lot more while in possession, while off possession as well. He works his socks off. Probably the most impressive foreigner this season. So I think everyone should keep a tab on what's happening in Goa and see if this trend continues.
Okay, I think Goa, the way they're going, also deserves an episode just talking about them, right? We'll probably definitely keep an eye on them. Ajay, coming to you, but before that, Ajay, wait, let me just ask Sandeep. If I'm not wrong, last time when we were looking forward to an I-League match, you mentioned about Chennai City and Real Kashmir. I think even Ajay picked that game. Sandeep, I just want to ask you, did it live up to your expectation? A 2-0 win to Real Kashmir it was.
Yeah, it did sort of live up to my expectation, but I would have liked to see the whole squad of Chennai play that game because two of their players were, COVID positive test results. So two more of their players were quarantined. So yeah, although I just Chennai are a good team. They are always going to, give trouble to their oppositions. And Real Kashmir is like the antithesis to Chennai because they are like all this blood and guts and 1-on-1 football and I'll kick you, I'll punch you, I'll jump higher than you type of football, which I like. Okay, I think you need different styles to make a league, and they are a brutal team to play against. It live up to expectation in some sense, but by and large, I would have liked to see the whole Chennai City team play the game.
Okay, Ajay, I'll come to you now. An ISL match that caught attention for you, and if it's the same, then you can move on. It's the same with I-League.
So have we spoken about the game where Liston Colasso scored that two goals, especially the one where he came in from the right and curled it from his left foot? Have you spoken about that game?
No, go for it. It's all yours.
No. So I think Hyderabad FC have been the most impressive. Apart from Liston, you look at Akash Mishra also putting in some good performances at left back. I think it's just a joy to watch them, and you would really wish and hope that they somehow make it into the top four. Although I feel that with the passage of time, BFC would come back and reclaim that spot in the playoffs. So there's no one specific game. I think I can just pick out moments and players, or maybe even coaches. Speaking about which, Robbie Fowler's post-match press conferences have been amusing. He also does a podcast, by the way, called Robbie Fowler Godcast or podcast or something like that. I haven't listened to it, but it would be definitely fun to listen to that pod once the inevitable happens. I'm just putting. Yeah. You can take a guess at what the inevitable is, but but yeah, I think overall I also liked Ishan Pandita play. I really hope he gets some minutes as well. Um, Love it how he celebrates a goal and just starts abusing in Spanish. Goes all vamos, vamos. Quite interesting to see. Yeah, and I think in the I League, the Gokulam Kerala comeback was quite amazing. Like 3-1 down, and yeah, just to come back from that kind of position was interesting. I mean, I just wish that we could probably have a proper telecast of the I League. It's very wishful thinking. The broadcast should be better, the timing should be better, but nevertheless, there are some crackers coming up in the I League as well.
Finally, Shlok, your exciting matches or moments that you want to share from I-League and
Um,
ISL.
I-League, to be honest, I haven't been able to follow it as much in the past week. ISL, there's Jamshedpur versus Northeast because I think that match tells a lot about both teams. Jamshedpur completely going off form. Just last week they had the chance to get into top four if they beat Goa, and they could actually extend their points, but they've lost their last three matches. Northeast, on the other hand, coming back from poor form, Khalid Jam is there, and now they're starting to win or Deshaun Brown who scored. So it's very interesting to see how the form of these two teams is just gone completely the other way. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Vasquez will not score more than 11 goals in this season. Because I mean, just when Jamshedpur signed him, I was of the opinion that he will not be able to replicate his form in Chennai. Statistically, his XG overperformance was crazy. He scored goals that you don't usually score, and he just missed so many chances in the last game. So I feel that that level of consistency he had at Chennai, he's not going to reach that. Meanwhile, Northeast, who knows where this resurgence is going to go? They're fifth on the table right now. I mean, let's just see how it goes. Honestly, this Gallegos playing again. They've got a good striker.
Okay, so Shlok, the final question to you is the ISL game that you're looking forward to. I mean, this episode will come on a Friday, so You know,
Okay.
you don't pick Mumbai City and East Bengal. I know you would pick that, but we've already spoken about it.
Apart from that, right?
Apart from that,
Okay. From the upcoming weeks, I guess Jamshedpur, Hyderabad. It's got to be that.
yeah, that'll be interesting to see how
Because
both these
I mean,
clubs
see,
give us
Jamshedpur
a.
are getting like a good amount of rest for this one. So it's like I think a week or so, and Hyderabad don't have as much rest, maybe 3 4 days. So can Jamshedpur bounce back, or will Hyderabad continue their form? I have no idea. So I want to see
Yeah.
what that's like.
Yeah, interesting. Finally, Sandeep, okay, let me ask you a question. Let me just not leave it like that. Punjab is going to play round class. Punjab is playing Mohammedan SC. This is I League. What are your thoughts on that? One is that. Second is Aizawl is up against Indian Arrows. In the last episode, we did speak about how Aizawl have to regroup every time and they actually show up every time as well. So let's ISL these boys have spoken about. So let me ask you about I League. These two games, if I have to ask you, what are your expectations from these two matches?
From the Aizawl Indian Arrows game, I expect a good game because again, uh, it's just I'm not a big fan of the Arrows project. I've said that multiple times because I think these kids need to play with some seniors as well because oftentimes they tend to repeat mistakes that because you don't have the experience and you don't know when you're under pressure and you're retreating into your box what not to do, those kind of things, and how to not just randomly, even if there is time, to just hit the ball out instead of just passing it, even if you're hitting it out, hit it out farther into the field. All these kind of desperate moves that they've done. And if you look at the last game, I think when Aizawl lost, three were very silly mistakes that they made to concede the goals, and they conceded five the game before against Churchill Brothers, I think. So can they? So Aizawl is due for a win also. Like they have to make sure they have to come out of the blocks absolutely fast because like we know this year it's a different kind of a system, right? The top six after one round of fixtures is after everybody plays, everyone is going to be play for the championship, and the bottom five for the relegation. Aizawl got out of it by the skin of their teeth last year because of the way the season went and the COVID situation and all. If they can get out of the bottom five, that would be perfect for them because I really fear for the fact that not just them, any of the Northeast teams for that matter, if they do go down, they might just not be interested in coming back up. Because I have had conversations with the Trau owner and things like that who said, what is the point of coming to, say, I League, which is second division, and not having a chance to go further up? Because they do function with very low budgets. And they can continue to play in the Mizo Premier League or the Mizoram League or things like that, and Shillong League and things. And be successful there and play as a feeder club to the ISL teams, which is also a good way to go about it in terms of business. So I'm that game will be interesting for a lot of reasons. And then Round Glass Punjab and Mohammedan is going to be one of those games. It is just I don't rate Mohammedan very highly, to be completely honest. But the game I saw of them was very very dull. Round Glass Punjab also seems like one of those teams who are capable of doing the spectacular and the most stupid thing simultaneously. Because there is there is absolutely no way that Gokulam Kerala should have come back and won that game because they didn't do. They were okay. They played well and things like that. But when you are 3-1 ahead, you would expect them to sort of shore up the whole thing and go right. And then to concede goals in 2 minutes, I think what 69 to 75, somewhere around that, they conceded three goals. That is just criminal. And all of them, some of them were defensive mistakes. That own goal from Anwar Ali was a joke only. That guy, I don't know why he's still playing. But they have Chencho though, and because of that, there is always a chance that he needs the long green grass to run into and space with the hair flying and things like that, like you see in movies. That's what Chencho needs, and in I League they do get it against Kerala, Gokulam Kerala. Gokulam Kerala is also sort of a reckless team. Like when you attack, attack ही करते हैं. When we defend, defend ही करते हैं. So there is no transition and things. So because of Chencho and Sanju Pradhan, okay, no, mostly because of Chencho only. they have a chance of scoring goals and things, and it's going to be interesting. Basically, all the I League is so difficult to call, right? Sometimes because you never really know what is going to happen. But yeah, it's been some of the matches have been dire, but others have been quite interesting. So I'm looking forward to both these games.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about Aizawl, I think by the time this episode is out and while we are done recording, we may have a new coach for Aizawl FC because the Stanley Rosario has left and a lot of interesting stuff coming ahead. Now, coming forward and looking forward to, right? As we mentioned, we were recording this on a Tuesday, so I think it's another historic day for another sport that India is very good at. That's cricket. And if you thought that we were kind of lost in our conversation, is because while we were recording at the same time that India has won the match against Australia, and we're talking about cricket here. Sorry to plug in this, but I think as fans, as sports fans, we probably would want to just give a shout out to this team who they didn't have half of the squad. Hopefully, our only hope is I wish that all the sport in our country were run like how cricket is run. I mean, we would definitely have a better place there. But anyway, I think all football, probably the football followers should do a podcast on cricket. It'll be fun. Anyway, let's leave it at that, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into the episode number 9 of the Totally Indian Football Show. And no, we are not switching to cricket. We will continue with football chats. So please do tune in. And Slok, thank you very very much for joining us. And
Thank you for
hope you
having me.
enjoyed it. Thank you for your knowledge that you shared. And we'll have you regularly, probably in the coming episodes as well. And
Sure.
Sandeep and Ajay, you are a veteran, so I'm not thanking you in person. But yeah, hey guys, follow us on the audio platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Do subscribe to us. Do let us know your thoughts if you know. Write to us. We are also this episode you'll also find on HOIF's YouTube channel. So do like, share, and subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comment section. I'm your host Siju. Thank you so much for tuning in once again, and yeah, have a great weekend. Come back to us next week.